Welcome back to the Junkyard Dawgcast. And like all of us, Georgia had to take some time to get over that turkey and mac and cheese. Those leftovers obviously left them going a little slow in the first half against the Yellow Jackets. But once again, Georgia has taken clean old-fashioned hate with a 37-14 victory over Georgia Tech to go 12-0 on the year, setting that new mark each week on a back-to-back 12-0 run for the first time in program history. Listen, the final score didn't really show how this game went, and I know a lot of Georgia fans are probably looking in that first half and wondering when is this rut going to end for Georgia on both sides of the ball. But again, every single team Georgia plays, this is basically a bowl game for them, their playoff game, their chance to go out there and try to get a signature win over the number one team in the country. You have that target on your back each week. You're going to get every team's best, and Georgia Tech definitely came out there and gave them a fight in the first half. Had a good game plan, just like Kentucky did. Just like, again, teams have tried to do against Georgia. That's limit the possessions that Georgia can have offensively. And I think, again, the first half, that first drive for Georgia Tech, you thought this might be a long game. But, again, credit to Georgia Tech for their script on there. Georgia made adjustments and did a great job defensively. You look at the second half, they came out and limited Georgia Tech to, I think it was 1 yard in the third quarter. And then so the backups came in there late in the game. Georgia Tech had minus 3 yards there in the fourth quarter as well. So that game got out of hand. So I think, again, you got to credit Georgia for making some adjustments, and they stuck to the game plan offensively. It was a frustrating one for, fans early on. It was a little ugly out there offensively. Stetson Bennett, again, still not sure if he's 100%, but got the job done, made plays with his legs again, and still gave Georgia an opportunity to take that lead and to, again, get the ball to what now looks like a pretty underrated group of running backs. I think you look at Georgia losing Zamir White and James Cook, and here we have Kenny McIntosh looking like he did earlier in the year now with a couple really big plays in the passing game. That 78-yard catch, very impressive by him. 91 yards receiving in this game, and I believe 86 yards rushing. So Georgia's leading yard getter in both facets of the game. He is a complete back that's probably going to have a pretty good chance to make a lot of plays in the NFL. I think when that NFL draft comes up, his 40 time might not be the best, but I think his ability to help out in all facets of the game is going to get him an opportunity to see his name called pretty early next spring. But again, this game got Georgia as close as you can probably get to a college football playoff spot right now. They obviously now have a pretty big game next week against LSU in that SEC championship to think about. But I think right now they're going to be tough to keep out of that 14 field right now. 12-0. I think they've got a pretty good resume right now. An unbeaten regular season. I think you get that Governor's Cup. I know that's important to Kirby Smart as a former player. You look at the fact that they outgained Georgia Tech in that second half, really put it to them. The first half's definitely something where they go back and say, hey, we shouldn't be allowing 187 yards to Georgia Tech. We should also not to have only 153 yards ourselves. But the ultimate result, pretty similar to how this rivalry's been in recent years. I think, they lost 2 or 3 in 2014 to 2016. Since then, they've basically drilled the Yellow Jackets every year. They've won by, I think, an average of 36 points over those last 4 games. Won their 70th game in the series now. And the fact that they hadn't played in Athens since, 2018. This was a big one for this team. And I think Kirby Smart improving to 5-1 against the Yellow Jackets. That was a big game for him as well, making sure everyone knows, whose state this is. Big for the senior class, setting the school record for most career wins, 46-5. Last year's class obviously was 45-8. So real impressive for that group as well. And I think, again, those goal line situations in this game gives them more film to go back and look at. They managed to walk away with 6 points in the red zone this time. I think that Stetson Bennett dive at the 3-yard line that was ruled down at the 1. I think there's a couple calls in this game. Pretty clear Kirby Smart let those refs know that they were having a much bigger impact in this game than Georgia Tech was at that point. And I think that's an aspect of the game that you can't really do much about. But I think he made sure those refs knew that they may have enjoyed their Thanksgiving, but they would not be getting a Christmas card from Kirby Smart this year. And at the same time, that Jalen Carter at the fullback, the jumbo set, Brock Bauer saved them on that rollout pass, catching a ball that came as close to touching the ground as you could possibly get without actually touching the ground. That one they actually did not review, so the refs did not take the opportunity to screw up the call that time. Georgia got the touchdown. That was a big play for the Dogs as well. I think overall, like I said, usually when you have a comfortable win at the end of the game, you're pretty happy as a fan base. Georgia's, right now, the fan base might not be as happy as they probably like to be, but you have to remember, look at every other team right now, and look at Clemson, look at Ohio State, look at some of the other teams out there having a rough go of it. Georgia continues to get the job done, and now they're prepared for maybe their biggest test of the year in LSU. We will see. We'll talk more about that game next week. But for this episode of the Junkyard Dawgcast, I'm Kip Adams. You guys have a great weekend.